Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Skipdown, and this is the Top 5 Weekly. Well, it's Halloween weekend. We got a couple days for Halloween. I thought, well, let's come up with a really cool Halloween-themed episode of the Top 5 Weekly. And instead of coming up with scary movies, we're going to come up with scary movies that we own in our personal collections. You're going to be like, oh, it's scary. How dare you own that piece of garbage? That's what we're going to do today. And we're going to show you how scary, bad some of these films are. So this is going to be a fun. I've been thinking. I thought about this one about a month ago. I said, oh, this is going to be a good episode. And I know Stephen and Andrew pride themselves in not having bad movies, or in this case, scary movies in their collection. I, on the other hand, I see everything. These guys see everything. Sometimes, what the hell, I'll grab that piece of crap and buy it and see if it's any good. And I should not have bought it because it sucked. So I have a little bit more crappy movies than these guys do in my personal collection. But I've been around a little bit longer than them. So it goes to, that I can get a few more extra bad movies in my personal collection. So with that being said, let's introduce my panelists, starting with Andrew.
Yeah, this is the shameful episode of Top 5 Weekly where we will be going through our shame and our collections. Steven and I talked about how we don't like to waste money on movies, but I always say when I was a young, unwise collector, I just kind of bought stuff that I regretted. I got rid of a lot of that stuff after, because you got to get the virus out of you. You got to put it away, and it's got to go. But some still remain, because for those of you who don't know me, I'm a bit of a completist when it comes to certain directors, when it comes to certain movie series. It's like, no matter how bad the movies are, if I start that series, I got to get them all. So this is going to be one of those regrettable episodes of Top 5 Weekly, and it is indeed horrific if you realize that we actually spent our hard-earned, well, maybe hard-earned money on some of these things. And that's the real horrors growing up, becoming an adult, is it's the money you have to spend on things that you later realize you should not have spent that money on. So it's going to be an interesting, unique episode for Top 5 Weekly.
Yeah, I know for a fact you probably both have Batman and Robin in your personal collections, and that is a scary probability there. Steven.
Yeah, this was tough. Like Andrew, I don't try to keep. I don't really buy garbage movies. I mean, if there's a movie that I want to buy, I investigate it to see what other people think first. I don't just I like to do blind buys, but not if I've heard the movie sucks. So a lot of the movies that I got here that are going to be on my list are actually, some of them, like Andrew says, there's some excuses for it. Like maybe these were movies from a franchise and I bought a box set and they're in that box set and that's the only reason I have it. Some of these though, like Andrew, I was young, or maybe they were really cheap and I was like, because there was a time where there was a Blockbuster and where they were basically giving away their DVDs, and I have them. So, and then there's one on my list that is considered to be great by mostly everybody, or by a lot, that I don't like, and I'm putting it on this list because it pisses me off. So we'll get to that.
All right, well, let's get this horror fest of bad films started. Oh, it's going to be scary. All right, Andrew, start us off.
I'm going to start off with a movie that no one talks about, and that's probably for good reason. and I kind of forget it exists sometimes. And I have to reach way back into before I even started collecting. This may have even been one of my first DVD purchases in the mid 2000s, and that is a sequel to a movie, and this is Lara Croft Tomb Raider: The Cradle of Life. I don't think a lot of people know that they made a sequel to Lara Croft Tomb Raider because this movie is so absurdly forgettable that I don't even quite remember the plot. All I know is Angelina Jolie in the 2000s was an action star, and they made her Lara Croft because they were trying to make video games into movies, and they haven't really figured that out since. And this was the sequel to the original Lara Croft Tomb Raider, which was an okay movie in and of itself. And I think they were just trying to cash in on Angelina Jolie and the success of that movie, and they made this movie. And for some reason, I've had this DVD in my collection for years, and I don't know why I still do. All I know is that I don't even think they put this out on Blu-ray to upgrade it. I know they did the first one, but I think they just said, screw this one, we don't even need it. But yeah, this is one of those films in my collections that I probably haven't even watched for over 10 years. It's just kind of there just to be there. Yet again, one of those things where I have the first one, I have to have the second one. So yeah, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life. Yeah, that's that. That's the first of our horror fest.
I think Andrew, I think the producers had some kind of envision of Angelina Jolie running. And they're like, oh my God, she could be Tomb Raider because she can run and something's jiggling and blah, blah, blah. All right, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, they basically just put her in absurdly tight clothing and had her run around in the jungle and go on some type of adventures. And that's kind of what the movies were. That's kind of what they thought sold movie tickets at the time. And now we're getting a new Lara Croft movie that looks a lot more video game-esque, but also kind of more Indiana Jones-esque, being a little more gritty. So hopefully that's a lot better than the ones we got in the early and mid 2000s.
Yeah. All right, Steven. Oh, I can't wait. Let's go.
All right. Well, I'm going to get this one out of the way because even though I don't like this movie, it's one I'm willing to rewatch maybe one day if I can build up the strength. But at this point right now, I totally hate this movie. Because it pissed me off, and when I bought it, I thought it was going to be this great movie, and I think it's totally stupid, and that is The Tree of Life. Totally sucks.
Boo!
Stuff. So I could get graphic. This movie should have been a documentary on the Discovery Channel. It is not okay. If you know anything about Terrence Malick right now, he is like totally just in this world where he's like, I don't want to tell stories. I want to just show you beautiful visuals and make you go spend money and watch it and totally just piss you off. Okay, I went to the store and I knew this was Terrence Malick, and I'd seen a lot of Terrence Malick movies. I'd seen A New World, which is fantastic. I'd seen Badlands. I'd seen, a lot of his earlier work. And then this came out after many years of not making a movie. This came out, and I was like, shit, Brad Pitt, Sean Penn, fantastic actors in this. I'm like, dude, I got to check this out. And then I bought it. So I bought it. I like to blind buy. I blind bought it. I put it in, and this shit is like a Discovery Channel documentary about the making of the world and the universe. And I'm like, what is this shit? Like, why did I spend $30 on this? Like, and then like the scenes that you get Brad Pitt in, they're like standing in meadows, and they're looking at the sun and like dancing in the wind and like nothing going on that's worth anything. It's so boring. Most of this I just try to blank out of my mind. Like I said, maybe it's better than I think it is, but I don't think it is.
Remember Terrence Malick, I think he's finally with what was it, the Master of Cups or something like that. He's finally finished his silent phase of his career. I think he's going to go back and do Song to Song. Did that actually have words in it? Because I never saw Song to Song. But one of the movies, he finally got away from the whole silent thing that he was doing. and he started going back to films with words. So hopefully The Master of Cups is the last film we have to watch where there's no words, where you have to like read people's lips. And he had all these great actors in all these movies. Remember the Ben Affleck, Rachel McAdams one? And I mean, dude, how do you get all these people to be in these movies and they don't say anything? You know, that's the part. But I did like Tree of Life. I actually did like it. I'm sorry. That was the best of the silent era of Terrence Malick. And, you know, I can't wait to see him get back to real normal films again. But my number 5 is a film, you know, I hate to bash on tragedy. You know, I hate to bash on tragedy. But back, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't know what year it was. Maybe, I think about 8 years ago, probably. We had a film called The Dark Knight Rises. And a guy went into a theater in Colorado, or I think, right, in Colorado, dressed up as Batman or Bane or somebody and started shooting people. And this film was supposed to come out like a week later, like maybe a week or 2 later or something like that. And if you know the true story of this movie, you know there's this scene where gangsters put all the law officials, like the lawyers, the cops, the mayor, these type of people, they give them a ticket to this film called White Heat, starring Jimmy Cagney. They put him in the first 2 rows of the theater, and they were gonna ambush them by shooting them all through the back of the screen and shooting all the people. So they thought, well, we can't have that scene in a movie after what happened with the movie theater shooting in Colorado. So they made the filmmakers of Gangster Squad move the film 6 months to January. And they took that scene out of the film. And of course, what you got is the film Gangster Squad, which was an absolute piece of garbage. I mean, I was looking forward to this film so much because, you know, it's about gangsters. It's about police in Los Angeles. It had Ryan Gosling and Sean Penn once again, Josh Brolin, Emma Stone. I mean, Nick Nolte. It had such a great cast, and it told the story of Mickey Cohen, the guy that ran the rackets in Los Angeles and ran everything in Los Angeles. But you took out the most important scene in the entire film because of what happened in this theater in Colorado. I think it was in Colorado. And you ruin the movie because you don't really have any reason for why everything in this film is going on. Because that was the culmination of what Mickey Cohen did. He killed all the police officers. He killed all the law enforcement officers. It was the most reprehensible thing any gangster could do. You took it out of the movie. So then you end up with a movie that doesn't have a reason for being a movie. And the acting's not good. The script isn't good. It's just an awful, awful piece of garbage. When you have that many great actors in a movie, it should be better. It should be a hell of a lot better. And I'm sure both of you guys agree with me. That I happen to have Gangster Squad in my collection because of the actors. I guess I really like a lot of the actors.
I saw the movie in theaters and decided that it wasn't worth buying. So
I own it, but I do not hate it. I don't hate the movie the way Dan hates the movie. Actually, I don't hate the movie at all.
Wow.
It's like
I don't like the movie. I think it's pretty bad. I think that it's mostly the acting. I mean, especially Sean Penn, way over the top. Like just
it feels like almost a comic book gangster movie. that makes any sense. Like it takes like the weirdness and the kind of like the stretching of reality of a comic book and makes it a gangster movie. It's an interesting clash of those two worlds, and yeah, some of it's really over the top. Like especially some of the way people talk, like it's almost satirizing like 1930s gangster movies.
Oh yeah, yep. All right, Andrew, back to you. What's your number 4?
My number 4 probably could be much higher on this list, but they're all pretty much bad anyway. And I'm gonna go with the movie that it's just garbage. It's a sequel to a film that I love, and it's a film that I always defend, but I can't defend the sequel because it's terrible. This actually has a very interesting backstory of how the film was made and how it was like taken away from the filmmakers, and the studio tried to make it the way they wanted to make it. Anywho, the movie's complete crap. And I'm gonna go with Highlander 2. It's called Highlander 2. It's called Highlander: The Quickening. I call it Highlander. Why the hell did they make this movie? Apparently, forget this movie existed. This movie doesn't exist. Watch the original Highlander. It is a perfect beginning, middle, and end. It's a self-contained story. The tagline of the first movie is "There can only be one." By the end of that movie, there is only one. Close the story, it's over. But no, they decided to make Highlander 2, where they gave us this really just convoluted garbage storyline where the Highlanders are not humans. They're aliens from another planet, and that's why they are undead and immortal. And they brought back Sean Connery from the dead. And I'm like, this movie, it takes place in 2024, where the ozone layer has collapsed, and the world needs to be in this giant shield bubble. And God, it's crap. It's awful. The movie's garbage. Why do I own it, you ask? Because I'm a sad, lonely man who has a problem where he has to buy all the movies in the series. And I actually hadn't seen Highlander 2 until I bought the DVD. And you ask me why, in fact, do I then own the Blu-ray? Once again, questions I can't answer. Problems I personally have, but don't watch this movie. It's just terrible. They did make a third movie called Highlander: The Final Dimension, which completely ignores this garbage. They made a TV series, a Highlander TV series that completely ignores this movie, and they made movies after that also ignore this movie. So this movie basically doesn't exist. And unfortunately, it was done by the original directors who directed Highlander, which kind of boggles my mind how they could see this. And they went back and they tried to recut it to make it be more like the directors wanted. There's a director's cut, there's a theatrical cut, there's an original like 90-minute cut, but all cuts of the movies aren't good. They're just not. They're just all really bad, and this movie is extremely bad. So yeah, don't watch that movie. Watch the original though, because it's great. Christopher Lambert, I think, is a super underrated actor. And Sean Connery is playing an Egyptian Spaniard, so you can't go wrong there.
I have to agree with you, Angie. Now, if I owned Highlander 2, it would have been on my list as well, man. That is an absolute piece of garbage. I was shocked when you popped it up there because I forgot all about it. It's so bad. I forgot.
It's so. I tried to show it to a friend. He got an hour in, and he was like, I can't watch this anymore. There's another hour of this. I can't do it.
Yeah. All right, Steven, can you top that?
I don't know. I mean, this next one, this set I'll show you. It's got both movies, but it's the lower movie on this cover that you need to pay attention to, because the one above it's fantastic, but its sequel or prequel is so terrible. Wow. Dumb and Dumber.
Oh.
When Harry Met Lloyd. Okay, look at these guys. Just look at them. That's enough. That's enough. Okay, so they try to make this prequel about when Harry and Lloyd first met each other, and you got these guys just trying their best to do impressions of Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels from the original awesome movie from it's wow. I can't tell you one thing I remember about this movie other than they drive a short bus to school because they can't get the real school bus to pick them up. And they like their classrooms like in a cabin or something. Like they won't even let them in the real school or something. They're in the slow people's class. That's not even in the sky. This movie couldn't even be made today. That's how like offensive it is. There's literally a scene. The only scene I remember really was where Lloyd describes having a girlfriend as being fag, faggy, using an obscene word. And I'm like, what? What? Having a girlfriend is that? Okay. But yeah, it's a movie, and it was made, and I know a lot of people that don't even remember that this was made, because it's so bad. So yeah, Dumb and Dumber.
That was bad. You know, they actually made a true sequel to Dumb and Dumber, and it wasn't that bad.
No, it was not good either.
It wasn't good, but it wasn't that bad.
It's not that bad, but it's not good either.
No, it's not good, but it's not that bad. It tells that even when you bring the true actors back, they still can't capture the magic that they captured in Dumb and Dumber. And sometimes they like Anchorman did the same thing, and that wasn't nearly as good.
Anchorman 2 is pretty good. I like Anchorman 2.
All right. All right. So in the mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s, we had this craze of let's take books that were worldwide phenomenons that had wizards and witches and swords and sorcery and dragons and all. Let's see what we could dredge up after Lord of the Rings and see if we could make some money. And even big companies like Warner Brothers were buying up properties. Let's buy this property. Let's buy that property. And a 16-year-old kid named Christopher Paolini at the time created a worldwide phenomenon that I read the book, and I was just like, wow, I love this book. I read the second book. I love the second book. By the time the third book came out, I didn't really read the third book, but I owned the third book. I owned the whole trilogy of books. But Warner Brothers bought the series, and they're like, oh, we got the next Lord of the Rings. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Guess what, Warner Brothers? Aragon is not the next Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or any of those. Have any of you ever heard of the actor Ed Speleers? Other than he was in this movie. I'll tell you something else he was in. He was in Downton Abbey. And that was the only thing I've ever seen him in besides this movie and Downton Abbey. Because the guy's career went in the toilet. He was a worldwide search. Let's find the actor who's going to play the main character in Aragon. And this kid absolutely went in the toilet. His career went in the toilet after this. You have people like Robert Carlyle, Jeremy Irons, Garrett Hedlund, Jaimin Hunsu, John Malkovich, all in this film because they thought, oh, we're going to be in the next Lord of the Rings. Guess what, guys? You weren't. And this isn't. And it's a piece of garbage. Absolutely awful, awful film. And I don't know why I bought it. I guess because I like the books. I guess. I don't know. Tell me why I bought that, Andrew.
I have to tell you, Steven, that movie hurt me so bad because I own all the books. I read that book. I loved that book. And I was like, at the time, it was right after Lord of the Rings, and I was like, and I was really into fantasy. And then I saw that movie, and I'm like, oh my goodness, they butchered it. It was the first time where, you know how a lot of people, they watch like Game of Thrones or Harry Potter or even Lord of the Rings, and they're like, they took the books and they screwed it up. You know what I mean? That was the first time that I felt that offended. and it killed me because book two and three are so great, and they would have made amazing, epic, awesome movies. They would have been essentially cinematic Game of Thrones. That the way we saw Game of Thrones most recently with dragons and all this, big sword and sorcery type stuff. That's what these books are, and that's what the movies would have been. And the first one was so bad, and like you said, Dan, just packed full of stars. And I don't know who wrote that script, but yeah, it killed that whole story. It just killed it. And Ed Speleers, yeah, it was his first movie. That's not really, you don't give a first time actor, that type of movie. You got to get somebody who's good that can anchor that franchise. But yeah, that's a huge disappointment to me. I'm surprised you own it because I don't own it, and sometimes I see it around for really cheap, and I'm like, oh man, maybe if I just buy it just to have it. And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, don't you do it? Don't do it. Don't save yourself. Save that money. You could buy something else with it.
All right, Andrew, let's get to number 3. Let's see if you can do any worse.
I have a movie here that I hate so much that I haven't watched the third film in this franchise. Luckily, I didn't pay much for it. It was a Black Friday bargain type thing, and that is Taken 2. If you've seen the first Taken, it's a kind of an awesome movie. It's a tight 90-minute action revenge movie with Liam Neeson, who's hunting down the people who kidnapped his daughter. He's a badass. He's ruthless. This movie is terrible because they try to do the same thing but change it up, but the direction is terrible. The acting is okay. Liam Neeson's still a badass, but the story is so bad. There's a moment in this movie where Liam Neeson is instructing his daughter to throw grenades off a rooftop so that he can hear where she is. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a pretty packed city. Somebody's going to die. You know what I mean? And no one who wrote the script or read the script thought that one through. It is just absurd. And there's a car chase sequence at the end of this movie, probably the worst edited car chase sequence I've ever seen, where they just do the same shots over and over again, the same looped in dialogue by Liam Neeson, and just quick cutting, and it's awful. It's awful. These movies are notorious for really bad fast editing, where they'll cut like 20 different times just as Liam Neeson is running and jumping over a fence. And it's like, why do we need to do that when it's just a guy running and jumping over a fence? It's a horrible stylization, but yeah, I haven't watched the third one because I can barely get through this one. But yeah, Taken 2 is not for you. See how that rhymes?
That's a good one. That's a good one. You take it from here now, Steven. You take it.
Take it from here, Steven. Follow that one up.
Okay. So this my number 3 is one that is kind of been notorious for kind of people think that this kind of ended this certain actor's career, that you don't really see him anymore in the mainstream because of this movie, The Love Guru. Yeah. I'm a huge Mike Myers fan. I love Mike Myers. I love the Austin Powers series. I love Wayne's World. I love SNL. This movie came out, and then nobody watched it, and nobody liked it, and said it was terrible, and then we just didn't see him ever again. Mike Myers has basically been gone. He's like, he was gone. I can't tell you one thing I remember about this movie other than Justin Timberlake's got this really porn mustache thing going. And he says some like really obscene things. I have not watched this movie in years. It's just there. Like Andrew said with these movies, they're just in your collection. And I don't know why I have them. This is a Blockbuster movie. Like you can see the Blockbuster emblem in there. Like I got this probably for like $2 or something in like a deal. And I just for some reason thought I needed to have this. And I don't. But I got it. So that's my number 3.
Man, you did do Andrew one up on that one, Steven. I have to give you credit. You shocked me with that one. That was because that is a bad film. And I might add, Mike Myers has reappeared on the Gong Show. On the Gong Show as his British
count.
He showed up in Inglourious Bastards, didn't he?
Yes.
He was playing almost like a great dictator, like Charlie Chaplin type like Nazi or something. Yeah.
Well, no, he's the general for the.
Yeah, he was the general. Yeah, he was the general. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but he hasn't starred in anything of his comical, like anything where he leads the movie. And since the Love Guru,
they may have done like a Shrek after that. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to count that, I don't really count that. But yeah.
No, we don't count Shrek. He's not in a live action movie where he's the star of it since the Love Guru. So that's the end of that. All right, so we all know that the video game genre has been kind of a dud for about 20 years now. Since Mortal Kombat? Would you guys agree Mortal Kombat is probably the last great video game movie we've gotten? If you call that great, I don't know if I really call that great, but
I don't know.
We've had a lot of bad video game movies over the years. And one video game that a lot of folks were looking forward to seeing made into a movie because it was going to star The Rock and it stars Carl Urban. You're like, oh, man, this is going to be good. Guess what, guys? Doom was not very good at all. It was awful, awful, awful. The people that played the video game were like, what the hell is going on? That's not the video game. That's nothing like the video game. The title says it all. Doom. You walk into the theater or bought this DVD or Blu-ray, it's Doom. It's Doom. Don't do it. Don't watch it. It's awful. The Rock was in a bad place in his career for a while there where he wasn't making good decisions. He had his deal with Disney and he was trying to change. He's not in a place he is now back then. Now, this film came out in friggin' 2008 or 2010 or something like that. I don't remember what year it came out. But it's a bad, bad movie. It's supposed to have monsters. It's supposed to have cool kind of like stuff going on. And it really doesn't have any of that stuff in it at all.
It's basically Alien 3,
Yeah.
Like
that's a bad film. We don't want to talk about Alien 3.
But I would rather watch Alien 3 than I'd rather watch Doom. So
yeah, good point. Good point.
Because at least it's David Fincher and it's Sigourney Weaver returning.
Yeah. But Doom, The Rock was really just taking a paycheck back then. But now he's really starting to come into his own as an actor, even though he just did. I could have easily put Baywatch on the list because that is awful. But
why would you buy that, Dan? You did not buy that, did you?
No, I don't. No, I did not buy Baywatch. I did not. I'm sorry. I want to make sure that point is well taken. I did not buy Baywatch. All right, Andrew.
Yes, sir. Oh, we're back to me. There we go. You know how the most important part of any movie is probably the screenplay, and it's probably best not to go into a movie without a screenplay or without a completed screenplay. But way back when there was a writer's strike and screenplays couldn't be finished, they couldn't be rewritten, writers couldn't even have any part of any film production because they were on lockout due to the WGA and all that stuff. But they still kept making movies, and they still kept making big-time blockbuster movies. And this was one that they made without a script, and the director's gone on record saying, yeah, didn't have a script in it. That's why it's probably so bad. And that is Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Must I remind you of John Turturro's oh-so-famous line, I am directly below enemy scrotum. And he was referring to a giant Decepticon garbage made out of garbage cars, and who happened to have Transformers sized testicles. This was the type of movie we are dealing with here, and it's the type of humor Michael Bay likes to go with most of the time. And yet again, I bought this movie because back in 2009, when I believe this movie came out, I didn't really understand what a bad movie was. I didn't understand that you didn't have to buy shitty movies to be cool like everybody else. Everybody knows that this franchise has gone on to make billions of dollars and, you know, comes out with a new movie every couple of years. But Transformers Revenge of the Fallen is considered the worst in the franchise. And it is not a good movie. It's definitely the worst of the franchise. Even if you like the franchise, if you love the franchise, you have to at least admit this is the worst out of all of them. And I bought it because I was buying Blu-rays at the time, and I just needed, you know, to build up the collection. And the price tag here says $29.99. Knowing young, like 22-year-old Andrew, he probably may have bought it for that price. I don't know. I like to block out a lot of my Transformers buying history. So yeah, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, not a good movie. I have a story about going to the theater and seeing this, not knowing that it was going to be terrible and having to wait 2 hours because the time I was going to see the movie was sold out. So I had to wait. And it was one of those situations where you had to wait in line and you had to wait. And once they opened the gate to the theater, everybody rushed in like a mob to see this movie. And I remember those are like 5 hours of my life I'm never going to get back again. So yeah, 2009 Andrew was not the smartest, but I was young. I was in my young 20s. I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was making purchases like Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. So yeah, if you like Transformers, good on you. It's great fun entertainment. The Blu-rays look and sound amazing. So at least there's that. But yeah, the movies are not good, and Revenge of the Fallen is terrible.
My guess is you did not buy the recent Transformers.
Dan, I have not yet. You notice how I say yet, Dan? Because as Steven knows, one of my darkest shames is that I do own the other ones as well. Well, I guess we'll get to that when we get to our dishonorable mentions, and they are so dishonorable for me that this is like a therapy session now.
I would argue that the most recent Transformers is the absolute worst of the worst.
I haven't seen it yet, so you probably may be true on that one.
Yeah, that's going to be on my top 10 worst movies of the year list. I'll tell you that right now, because it is an absolute piece of garbage. All right, Steven, can you do any worse?
Well, you know, I'll be honest, real quick, Andrew, the scariest thing about what you just told us was that there was, in your area, people stormed the theater to see this movie. That's what scares me the most.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah.
That scares me. The next movie on my list is part of a series, part of a franchise also. This is a franchise that I hold dear to my heart. I think every one of these movies in this franchise besides this one. And it's a dark time. This was a dark time when this came out. And that's part of the Die Hard trilogy, the Die Hard series. Die Hard, A Good Day to Die Hard is like the Antichrist coming back. That's what I feel like. I feel like when the Antichrist comes back, if he ever comes back, it'll be Bruce Willis in this movie. It's so terrible. It's one of these ones that makes me mad thinking about it. The cinematography, for some reason, was this like purple, like a purple cinema. Like, why was everything purple? Like bluish, purpley cinematography. I don't know why. And for some reason, even more so than Live Free or Die Hard, which I kind of like. I don't hate that movie, especially the unrated version. He's indestructible in this movie. He's like a superhero that can do anything. And his stupid son, played by the guy that nobody wants to see in any movie, Jai Courtney. is his son in this movie, and yeah. So now John McClane is now going overseas, going to save the day in another country. And guys, it's terrible. It's terrible. I don't even remember the dude that directed this movie, and I know he's not anybody that's done anything good, because it's terrible. I would look to see who directed the movie, but I know it's who cares. His name is Who Gives a Shit. Yeah. So, but this Good Day to Die Hard is wow. I'm crying a little bit. It's just so sad because and you know what? Part of it is I blame Bruce Willis because he doesn't give a shit anymore. He obviously just does not care, and he doesn't care enough to even do well in his own franchise that he built. So, yeah.
All right. Jai Courtney. Nobody likes Jai Courtney. That was my worst movie of the year that year. That came out. Steven,
it makes me so upset. I hate that movie.
Yeah, it's absolutely garbage. You're absolutely right. All right, now
I can get through 2, but 1 and 3 are freaking awesome, and then 4 is pretty good. It's fun. It's a fun movie. That 5th movie just killed it. Like, it killed the franchise. Like, you don't see them hurrying up and making another one. I know they got this year 1 thing they're talking about, which sounds like another fucking turd fest. So I hope they don't do it.
All right, guys, let's play a game. Let's play a game here, all right? I'm going to name off the actors in this movie and the director, and I want you guys to guess this piece of crap that is my number 2 that I own. In a way, I'm a completist similar to Andrew and Steven. I like to own a bunch of the movies from the certain directors and so forth and whatnot. All right, let's start. Michael Fassbender, Penelope Cruz, Cameron Diaz.
Oh, it's The Counselor.
It's The Counselor.
Javier Bardem and Brad Pitt.
If I actually own this movie, I would put it on my list, but I don't own it.
I have it, but I haven't watched it.
The director, Ridley Scott, Brad Pitt, Javier Bardem. How could you make a worse piece of garbage than The Counselor this is some of the best talent in the world. Some of the best talent in the world. How could you? Cormac McCarthy, what were you thinking? I don't understand what you were writing here. You make No Country for Old Men based on they made that. That was a phenomenal movie. Then you do this and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing, guys? This is awful, awful, awful dreck. It's got to be one of the most insulting things I've ever seen in my entire life. When you have this unbelievable, abundant talent. Look at these people. You have Penelope Cruz, Oscar winner. Javier Bardem, Oscar winner. Michael Fassbender's going to win an Oscar someday. Brad Pitt probably should have won an Oscar by now. He might have won one for producing 12 Years a Slave. Ridley Scott, you've done some of the greatest movies of all time. What the hell were you thinking doing this piece of garbage?
My friend Julian loves this movie.
Julian, get your head out of your ass. This is garbage.
His head's up Ridley Scott's ass because it's his favorite director.
Oh, get your head out of Ridley Scott's ass. This is awful, awful film. How could they make such a garbage film? Answer me that. Either one of you. How could such an unbelievable?
Well, Cormac McCarthy's a fine writer as an author of books, but it's not the same thing as writing a script. So it's maybe he shouldn't have wrote the script for this movie. Maybe.
Yeah,
I think I can come up with.
I think you're right. I think you're right about that, Steven. All right, Andrew. Oh, drum roll, please, folks.
Yes. My number one is actually has already been discussed. Ethan's number two, and that is the definition of how a franchise dies or kills itself, commits suicide, whatever you want to call it, seppuku, harakiri, euthanasia, whatever. That is A Good Day to Die Hard, or as I like to say, a good day not to watch this movie.
It's even worse own the movie as a single package.
Yes, it is, because Steven's forced to have it because he's got to buy the whole set. If you buy the whole set, they're going to throw this one in there just the same way if you buy the complete Indiana Jones series, which I have. You're going to get Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which nobody needs. And so here we have it. The Die Hard movie, perhaps to end all Die Hard movies, quite literally, A Good Day to Die Hard. A lot of people did not like Live Free or Live Free or Die Hard. The fourth film in the franchise, they thought, oh, it's PG-13, it's more actiony, it's not Bruce Willis, it's more of a buddy cop movie, whatever. It is a shit ton better than this crap here. I'll tell you that. It's got a better screenplay, a better story,
better direction.
I believe Len Wiseman?
Len
Wiseman did that film. The guy who did this, Steven's favorite director of all time, is a guy named John Moore. John Moore, Mr. Plain Name himself, directed this movie, and he did not know. He just made a generic action movie with marginal CGI and just PG-13 story and effects and nonsense. Actually, is this movie rated R? It is rated R. I guess you can say yippee-ki-yay motherfucker again, but this is just, movie's not worth him saying that. It's not worth it at all. Yeah, it's a bad movie. Jai Courtney, I don't know who your agent is or whomever that is, but he's getting you bad roles. And Jai Courtney is an actor who is great, who was great in certain roles. Watch the first season of Spartacus. He's in that season along with the late great Andy Whitfield. He's great in that. And then his career, they're just trying to force him to be this big action star. They paired him up with Bruce Willis. Maybe they want to make him the next Bruce Willis. They want to make him the next big action star. And he is not that. He's not that charismatic on screen, or at least the work he is getting, the scripts he is getting are not letting him be that. If anything, Suicide Squad, which is not a movie a lot of people love, he's actually better at doing that, which is, part of an ensemble, being in the background, making quirky faces and doing funny things. That's him, not a leading man, doing what Steven's doing with the gruff beard and everything. But yeah, A Good Day to Die Hard is not a good movie. Bruce Willis doesn't really care as an actor anymore, and it showed in this movie. I don't know how he can jump through like 5 glass windows and then in Chernobyl, mind you, Chernobyl. I don't know if you're familiar with Chernobyl. There was a nuclear plant meltdown. You're not supposed to go there. It's radiation poisoning, but they go there in this movie. No radiation suits, no nothing. Even if it's dwindled, you're still going to get sick. Radiation doesn't give a shit how many years it's still there. and no, they don't care in this movie. They don't care about a lot of things in this movie, particularly the plot. So, yeah, without going on a huge Dan Skip Allen-like rant, this is A Good Day to Die Hard, and it's a good day not to watch this movie, never to watch this movie. Watch the first, so much better than this. And like Steven said, they're trying to make another one. They better resurrect this thing pretty significantly for me to care anymore about it.
Yeah, that's and then the other thing is he's going to be he's in a reboot of the Charles Bronson franchise.
Oh, don't get me started about that nonsense.
I mean, what were they thinking casting him in a reboot of Death Wish? I don't get it.
They needed a grumpy old guy who didn't give a shit and just wants to shoot people, I guess. I guess Clint Eastwood was too old for the role. Oh, no.
Or acting or something. I think Clint Eastwood gave up acting. He wasn't going to be in acting anymore.
That's also true.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had it on my list now, because it would have been all 3 of us that had that piece of garbage on our list. But that means it says that I actually own it, and I actually don't own that garbage. Only you 2 own it. Steven, take it away. Can you do any worse?
Yes, I can. This movie breaks my heart every time I see the cover. And I have to look at the cover again. It's breaking my heart because it is an adaptation of one of my most favorite things that I've seen over my life. I love this anime. It is fantastic. It is a great series, and I hope one day they can resurrect this and do it. The Last Airbender. M. Night Shyamalan totally shat the bed on this one. This could have been a great franchise. I always tell people this thing is so epic that it could be like the next Lord of the Rings. You know, you're talking about Aragorn being like the next Lord. This could have been that. This could have been something they made a huge series out of, maybe even more than a trilogy, and made a great movie epic thing. And then they turned it into, they basically tried to literally put the show in the movie and like tell the story through a lot of narration, and like and then they don't even know how to pronounce the names right. It is not Ung, it is Aang. Oh God, guys, this movie. And in this universe, we have guys that are earthbenders that can pick up, you know, huge boulders and throw them at you and do craziness. But no, in this version, it takes like a group of earthbenders to move one boulder at like 2 miles per hour. And wow, guys, I could go on all day, but I might just end up breaking this and I don't want to break it. I want to have this as a reminder that, you know, there's evil in the world, and good. There needs to be good movies. We need to have good. To have good movies, we need bad movies. We have to have both. So I keep that around as almost like a reminder. That, and I was wanting to write my own script for The Last Airbender, so I needed it as a way of knowing what not to do. So, yeah. Number one, Last Airbender. Suck.
I'll tell you what. I want the world to see what's behind Steven and be reminded by great films, and not that piece of garbage, The Last Airbender, that he just held up his hand. Because he's got a shelf full of amazing criterions behind him, and that's what you should be concentrating on. So that's a good.
I'm trying to. There's like a cape over me, over all the shittiness we're talking about. I wanted to put all my good movies behind me so that people wouldn't want to cut their wrists listening to us talk about these bad movies. We don't need that on our conscience, because we shoved bad movies in their face. We don't want that on our conscience. So I was like, we got to make sure we have good stuff behind us just to keep the mood, a little bit good,
All right. Well, we've all heard the story of a struggling filmmaker who maxed out his credit cards and made his debut movie and brought it to the Sundance Film Festival, and it turned out it was a huge hit, and he became a filmmaker, and he made 3 or 4 movies after that, and then for some inexplicable reason decided to go back to that indie hit that he maxed out all his credit cards, and he spent every dime he had. He got all his buddies that came from the same town as him, of Red Bank, New Jersey, and they were all in the film with him, and everybody loved the film because we could all relate to it. But then for some freaking reason, he made a sequel, and the sequel is awful. Why? Why Clerks 2? Why Clerks 2? There is a scene in this film with sex with a donkey. That tells you how bad this film is. Sex with a donkey. Why are we watching this on the screen? Why, Kevin Smith? What the hell were you thinking? I mean, Jesus, man. You made so many good movies. Indie Little Chasing Amy, Mallrats, Clerks, Then you made this piece of garbage, and you made a couple films since this that are absolutely worse. The Tusk. Oh my God, Tusk.
Oh, Tusk is awesome.
I hate it.
Tusk is awesome.
I hate Tusk. But all I had to say was sex with the donkey. And that tells you how bad this film is.
I've never seen it, so I can't.
I'm actually a big fan of Clerks 2. So
Are you really?
I am. I actually am. I actually do really like the movie.
I'm
A.O. Scott, the film critic of the New York Times, says Clerks 2 has a dirty mind, but its heart is pure. No, its heart is in the toilet. The heart is in the toilet. This movie's awful.
I see. I'm not even a huge fan of the first one. Like I appreciate what he was doing, and like that what he did. You know, made a movie for nothing. But like, I'm not a huge fan of the first one anyway. So I never saw the second one.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of it. So Dan and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum here. Donkey scene aside, we throw that away, and the film is actually about kind of midlife crises and not being at the point in your life you thought you would be, and kind of perhaps settling for things that just seem easy and conventional because they are easy and conventional. Well, you know, all that line within the Dante character, but that's a whole big. We could debate this forever, but yeah, that's Dan's number one. I did not see that coming.
I changed my number one while we were doing the show. I had a film that nobody ever heard of with actors nobody ever heard of as my number one. And I said, you know what? I don't think anybody's gonna think, oh, what the hell is that? So I changed my number one as the show was going on. I said, you know, I had two to choose from. And I said, you know, I'm going to pick this one because of that donkey scene. That donkey scene was the most ridiculous thing I think
that scene's hilarious. Hilariously dumb.
It's stupid. I mean, I had another one here that I'm sure somebody out there, like on the cover, it says 2 thumbs up from Ebert and Roper that I was going to put as my number one. And I had a debate between Clerks 2 and this one. I'm like, you know what, Ebert and Roper, how dare you put 2 thumbs up for this piece of garbage? I'm not even going to give you the time of day to say what film you gave 2 thumbs up to that I think is absolutely.
Well, you're going to have to in like 3 seconds when we do dishonorable mentions.
All right, let's do it. Go.
First up, I got a message from our friend Mark Tordai, who is a bit of a connoisseur of bad movies, and he would have been great for this show because he owns quite a few bad movies. He messaged me saying he owns The Wicker Man, which I'm assuming is that Nicolas Cage Bees fiasco, Jupiter Ascending, After Earth, The Happening, Bangkok Dangerous, and The Last Airbender, like Steven said. So yeah, he is quite the connoisseur of bad movies. But yeah, dishonorable mentions, like I hinted at earlier, I will grab them here. This is the shame of my collection. And this is, I don't even know which way to show these. Either way, it doesn't really quite matter. Transformers, the first movie, not so bad, more tame. You know what? It's the best of the Transformers movie. I know Dan likes it. But yeah, like I said, Revenge of the Fallen is awful. Dark of the Moon. This is when Bay decided to say, screw it. We're just going to have an hour-long action sequence of just explosions and metal parts banging up against each other. And then we're going to have more banging metal parts against each other. But this time we're going to have Stanley Tucci yelling for no obvious reason. And we're going to switch up the lead with Marky Mark, better known as Mark Wahlberg. And this is Transformers Age of Extinction, better known as nearly 3 hours of nonsense. Yeah. Better known as Bud Light the movie. Mark Wahlberg uses an alien gun and shoots Transformers and kills them better than actual Decepticons. Autobots. Actually, Autobots and Decepticons, you can't tell which one's which in this because it's all nonsense. So, yes, that is that. And I also kicked in X-Men Origins Wolverine 2009 because it has one of the worst CGIs. It has some of the worst CGI any mainstream superhero film will have of the last decade. Like unfinished CGI. Like they just didn't have enough time to finish it, so it looks like crap. Also, worst claws effects of any movie that has Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And it really kills me because Liev Schreiber is great as Sabretooth, and Hugh Jackman is trying really, really hard to be great as the Wolverine/Logan. So yeah, those are some of my bad ones. Dan is probably going to mention a bunch more. But yeah, so Dan, I know you got a whole stack there to show us some nonsense. And
Well,
Steven, I'm not sure what you got left.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't, like I said, it was tough for me because almost everything in my collection, I either pick good movies or they're movies that I consider guilty pleasures that I don't think are bad movies. So I don't really have any other ones. And with that, I need to go because I have to be somewhere. And
yes. Steven has a date with Destiny.
I have a date with Destiny called Walking Dead, and I'm going to watch it with my father. So I have to peace out. Fun episode. Don't ever watch any of these movies we talked about. So you don't want to have thoughts of hurting yourself. We did that for you. So Stephen Billings, YouTube, you can find Film Club Central, Instagram at Movie Man for Life, on Twitter and Instagram and all that jazz. See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Steven. So, Dan, I want to see that stack of crap you have.
All right. Who likes superhero movies? Who likes?
I do, Dan. Oh, is that Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Spider-Man 2. Garbage. Garbage. Oh.
No love for Andrew Garfield.
Look, I'm a completist, Andrew. I'm a completist.
Yeah. I have that too, but it's over there. It's more of a guilty pleasure because it's so bad you can't help but just laugh at how bad it is.
I mean, look, folks, look at this stack of movies that I have here. This is a stack of absolute trash right here. You could see some of these movies if you really zoom in really close, but I'm not going to name off every one of these damn movies. I'm just going to say thank you to Andrew and Steven for being on the show this week. This is going to be the last Top 5 Weekly for a couple of months. We're going to come back in January. I am really busy right now. I was trying to start up a new show. Haven't really had a lot of luck with it. But we're going to still continue to do the 52 must-see movies and why they matter. And we'll come back stronger and ready to go in January because I'm going to be a very busy man over the next 2 months with my job and whatnot. I'll be seeing a lot of movies during that time, and so will Andrew and Steven. So we'll be reinvigorated. We're gonna have a whole series of Oscar videos in January. We're gonna come back with the Top 5 Weekly. Andrew, where can you be found?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Cabzilla06, as well as my YouTube channel, Cabzilla Productions. Yeah, we will still be doing top five. We'll still be doing 52 must-see movies. We have all 52 that we will be up at some point. We're about halfway through, I'd say, probably a little more than halfway. Yep. But yeah, we will be doing that, and of course we will be coming back later to do all of our favorites and least favorite movies of the year. So yeah, there's still a lot of movies to cover throughout the rest of the year. We're just beginning to get to the real big heavy hitters, the real big Oscar movies, the award contenders and all that. Plus some big movies still have to hit the theaters. So yeah, there's still plenty of movies to watch.
And if I can get these wrangle these guys up, we may do a Gary Oldman in sometime in December if we can wrangle these guys up again. Because we did talk about wanting to do a Gary Oldman episode, so that might happen early December if we can get the time and a good date for everybody to do it. So we may come back before 2 months and just do the Gary Oldman episode and then come back in January. So for myself, you can find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Obviously, here on the Best Damn Movie Show channel on YouTube. My own channel where I do movie reviews now, and obviously, Andrew does movies on his channel, Cabzilla Productions on YouTube. Right? Is that right?
That is right. Yes.
and he does a little bit more production value than I do on mine. His are really actually pretty good videos, and he'll do like unboxing of things. He'll brag. He'll do these videos about bragging. Oh, I bought Stranger Things season 2 from Target, and I'm going to shove it in your face, Dan, because you haven't got it yet. Stuff like that. Which,
well, excuse me for living, Dan. Excuse me for living.
I'm joking. I love watching your unboxing or your haul videos, because I just get envious. I get envious. I shouldn't be envious of you, but I do get envious, Andrew. But yeah, we'll be back with the Top 5 Weekly. Probably we might do a Gary Oldman episode, and then we'll be back in January. So for Andrew, Steven, and myself, good night, everybody.
Good night.